Welcome to the power of purpose. All things works together for good, be it bad, ugly. You have been through the darkest moment, but all those are designed to shape you and build you to be a great person that you can be. Today I am with a special guest, Elwin, and you want to hear his story. Very inspiring, very motivating. Mr. Elwin, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for
basically, introduce yourself. Who is Elwin? There are many people might know you, but basically for those who don't know, who is Elwin?
Right. Well, Elwin is simply a boy born in Tsumeb. One who didn't grow up with his parents, one that grew up with children, other children to say. Because I grew up in a children's home called SOS Children's Village, and it takes care of orphans and vulnerable children. Yeah. So I'm one of them. So I'm now doing my second year at UNAM, computer science, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the inception. How were you born? Who is your father? Who is your mother?
All right. Well, I was born to Malakias Mangundu and Leia Mangundu. So my mom is from South Africa. My dad is from Rundu, he's a Kavango. Well, it's actually a big combination. Some people are like, how did that happen? But well, they gave birth to me in Tsumeb, and ever since then I've grown up there. Been to other towns, but that's where I grew up. Yeah.
So did you grow up with both your parents, your mother and your father?
I lost my mom when I was just 4 years old.
4 years old?
4 years old. And so after that, for a while, I had to live with my father's family in Rundu.
And where was your father?
He was a truck driver, so he was busy working and driving from one place to another.
So are you saying your mother passes away at the age of 4? And your father doesn't take time to say, can I stop a little bit and take care of my children, but he still continues to drive around?
Yeah, it was his means of providing, apparently. But so after he died, my brothers, we are 4 brothers, I didn't mention that, but we are 4 brothers, and so the elder brother now took the lead as the father. Whilst we were in Rundu, they left me there and they had to come back to Tsumeb, where they had to continue their school, but I was still there with my father's family. But my father was still busy working. Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you now move to Tsumeb?
All right, I think it was in 2005 when my brother decided it's enough. I'm not going to be in Rundu no more. So he went to get me there and they moved me to Tsumeb, and after that we were just in Tsumeb from one aunt to the other. And it continued for a while until my brother came to Windhoek. So I stayed in Tsumeb with my other brothers. We were there, and in 2006, that's when I went to a children's home, the SOS Children's Village.
But before you went to the children's home, how was it like surviving with your brothers?
It wasn't easy.
Okay. What really happened?
All right. We are 4 brothers, so we were divided, 2 with this aunt, 2 with the other. Yeah. But then within that, we were moved from this house to that house, and it wasn't a thing of, we have got a solid house. Like Jesus would say, I have no place to sleep. But I didn't understand that. So we didn't have a place to sleep. We didn't have any place to stay. We would move from this aunt, today we are here, and then there's a quarrel between children, and then they decide, no, I can handle this, so you go to this one, and it was like that.
So you became nomads. Nomad in the sense that you have no stable place. Whenever fire gets off or people get angry, something goes wrong, you had to move to the next house and move to the next house. Yeah. And that was and how was it in terms of food sometimes and surviving?
Well, I was taught from an early age. I remember in Grootfontein, before I moved to Tsumeb, I lived with an aunt, and she was one that taught me that if you want to eat, you must work. Since then, I've had it in me that wherever I go, if I want to eat, I have to work for it. Yeah. So it was part of me, it was part of us. So wherever we went with my aunts, we would eat sometimes, but most of the time, or let me say at least, when there's no food at home, I will then go to a place, somebody else's house, and then just maybe clean them, then play with the other kids, just until lunchtime, and then there's some plate, you get to eat. Yeah. And then you go home, at least you have eaten, but when you get home, there might be a solid food prepared, but it won't be enough for all of us because there were other children as well. Yes. Yeah.
There was a moment you shared with me that was somehow to me, it was kind of traumatizing. That where there were moments where you would go to the dump site and begin to pick. Well, when was those moments?
All right, that was a few years after I got to Tsumeb. We lived with my aunt. So I remember, I think it was my grade 1, 2 year.
Yeah.
So we would go to Tsumeb's dam site, and that's where we would go and get food. It's not only us, we had to go with our aunt because she was unemployed.
Okay.
So we as the children would wait for the ones who are at school. We all come back and then we go together with them, and then we go and look for food. And we get toys, we get whatever we could get. You know, as children, we thought it was a life and it was normal because everybody does it. So we just went and we had that session at the dump site. Yeah.
So you'd pick up food, sometimes rotten food, sometimes the leftovers, which other people have left, and you'd survive on that.
We'd survive on it. You know, if you get bread that's made, the green, it has green. Nowadays, if you see it, you throw it away immediately.
Yes.
There are people at the dump site, they take that part off and they continue with it. And that was us. I come from that place, I know how that bread tastes. I've eaten it and I thought it was part of us. You know, we'll go there, we get cheese. Cheese is some rotten milk, but yet we'll consume the rotten cheese, imagine. So we'd eat it and we'd be fine. And then sugar, we'd get some hot clotted sugar that has gone through some water.
And then it dries up.
It dries up. So that sugar for us, we get it, we go home with it, we are happy. We get, what do you call it, portion chips. And we'll take it and we eat it. We didn't care because it was part of us. That's what we thought.
So for you, somehow as a young person, that seemed to be a normal life.
Yeah, it was very normal. Every morning you wake up, you know, I'm going to that place, I'm going to get either food, I'm going to get toys. As a child, that's what we care about. We care about food and we care about toys. But else we care, we play there, we run around, we joke and we laugh. You know, we used to laugh. We were a family that actually laughed each other. So we would laugh about such things and we didn't really know what's happening. Sometimes we see the elders are angry, but we do not know. But we as children think that, oh, I've got my food, I've eaten, I've got toys there. It's fine with me. Then we move on.
Having an understanding and moving through that process, have you ever at some point in time in your life have some kind of grief or pain, try to blame your parents, or try to blame your father for not being there?
Right. Let me say, in 2006, when we moved to Westward Children's Village, my father came a year after that and was like, are you guys fine there? Or do you want to come and live with us?
So your father, who is working, a truck driver, moving across Africa, he hears his children are in SOS village, an orphanage, and he comes and asks you, are you okay or you want to come out? What was his reaction?
For me, I have seen my father drive away, and I was like, Daddy, come, we want to be with you. So at that point in time, my brother Jacob is 2 years older than I am. I made him to speak. Because if it was me, I would say, I want to be with you. Because I wanted that love. Every time I would see other children with their parents, I'm like, if it could be me, you know. But then when my father asked me that question, I kept quiet, waiting to hear the response of my brother.
From your elder brother.
Yeah. And what he said was that it's better being there than being outside. Because we eat 3 times a day.
Yeah.
They buy clothes for us, they pay our school fees, they do everything for us, you know. And when he said that, I was like, okay, fine. Let me just hold back and see what he's doing.
So 3 of you were now in SOS?
We were only 2.
2 of you?
Yeah, because the other 2 were older than the age required to be there.
To be there.
Yeah. So the 2 of us that grew up there, as we moved through life, I got to understand. It's like Joseph being sold to the Egyptians and being sold or thrown into the pit. And when I was in SOS fresh, seeing other children and hearing how they are like, yeah, your parents threw you away, I felt like I'm rejected. It was horrible. It wasn't a nice feeling. I felt like everything is just it's not the normal lifestyle, you know.
Yes.
And I was like, but why should my aunt then throw us away? I felt like we were thrown away. Yeah. But growing up, it then got clear as I got to know God. He then made it clear to me that, son, you are in this pit, but it's for a reason. You are like Joseph, who was rejected by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold to Egypt, and he became a prince. I didn't understand that, but I was so like, okay, fine, Joseph went through such a thing, and I could relate to that, and I was like, this is me. Let me live like Joseph. So every time I would look at a situation, I'm like, it's maybe like Joseph.
That was you finding strength and you trying to comfort yourself.
Yeah.
But beneath that comfort and that strength, there's you some anger you had towards your father when you hear these kids saying your father has rejected you. What did you think of your father as years goes by?
At first, I was very ignorant.
Okay.
Because in grade 4, that's when I gave my life to God. Because I saw my brother got married. That was in 2008, my elder brother. So when he got married, I found that there's truly a God. Because if my brother can get married...
Which one? The one you were with in OSOS?
No,
or the one who was out?
He was out, the eldest one, the one who took the father role.
Yes.
So I was like, if he can do that for him, there must be a God. So I comforted myself with, God is my father.
Yes.
But then every time I would sit back and think about it, there was that inner child longing for a parent, a physical parent. So you're like, okay, fine. My father is not here with me. He's in Rundu, he's driving around and all that. And I long for this. And as I grew up, I was ignorant. But during my first year, it actually got to my mind. And I started thinking about it. It now got personal to a point where I was like, these things that other children go like, I hate my father and all that. Why don't I feel it? So I then challenged myself because I'm very ignorant when it comes to feelings. I do not like emotional things. So I challenged myself and said, bros, face life. You cannot live behind this curtain. You cannot mask it up with, I'm fine, you know? So it then got to me and I started thinking, but how would life have been if my father was a part of my life?
Yes.
Because there are many things that young men of my age will do, even young men of who are younger than me, and I will be like, they were taught by their father. Example, driving car, I didn't have interest in cars.
Yeah.
Because who's there to guide me? People say that it has to be within you. No. You need somebody that should guide you into this.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a father that will teach me how to desire to have a car. My father wasn't there to teach me how to look at a woman and say, this type of woman is the one you should get and all that. So that was lacking. Now getting to my first year, and I'm now trying to think about life in reality, it then got to my mind that, bros, there are a lot of things that you missed.
Before you go into your first year, let's go back a little bit to SOS. Okay. SOS is generally, not all the time, generally you have female caretakers who take care of you people in that village. And most of your life, I don't know how many years you were there, you get to interact with women on the side of female side.
Yeah.
And generally most of the time there were no men that could paint a picture on the world of men's side. So did that affect you, and how? Did it affect you in any way? Having that process, like generally most of the time you're exposed to the women, how they take care, how they do their things, and how they express themselves, and you haven't seen much on the world of the side of a man. Did that affect you in any way?
Yes. Okay. Like what I spoke about, like, all right, the positive thing is the lady taught me how to be independent, doing laundry myself, cooking for myself, and all that. But now coming to the area of a man, what does it mean to be a man?
Yes.
Being a man is not about having muscles. It's not about having your... Is it safe to say it here?
Yeah.
It's not about having a penis, you know?
Yeah.
And many people look at that and say that's a man.
Yeah.
But being a man is more than that.
Yes.
How do I father my children after that if I get children? I didn't have a father that would really be the like, son, this and this, speak to me about reality.
Yeah.
I had women all my life. My sister-in-law started talking to me about relationships, and she said, son or boy, you have to wait until that time. There are many women. After school, you'll get. Now, I lived my life ignorant of such things. I said, okay, cool. No dating for now. But what are the responsibilities of a man in the society?
Yeah.
Had it not been for church, I would have missed out on a lot. I'll be one that was abusive, that will be abusive towards women. Because before I received Christ, I was a fighter. I used to fight with anybody.
You were violent kind of.
I was very violent.
What do you think was the cause of that violence?
Sure.
Was there a deep wound inside you that you felt it needed to be healed?
I would say yes. Because I had no peace. Every time I see a child and the child seems to be happy, that's that of let me also get him angry.
Yes.
You know, so you just want to fight. So it was in me. So it helped me a little bit. Yeah, it didn't even help me because it made things worse. People hated me.
Yeah.
The elder people, all the ladies in SOS knew about Elwin, and they would be like, that child, he can be academically good, but his manners suck. He's bad. He doesn't respect anybody. See? So I didn't have respect at all because I missed that. The father that would beat me to get into the right path.
As you grow up with this anger and violence and bitterness, before reaching, as Paul says, when I was a child, as thought as a child, I did childish things, and I became a man. I put away childish things. Before you becoming a man, being in SOS village, you are just entitled to food and accommodation generally, and support of education. But there were other privileges that a child in a normal home where there's a father and a mother, they do get exposed to. Play with their parents, go out and take a jog and run. You know, several simple things. And you were somehow not unfortunate, you didn't have those things. How did you perceive life in terms when you look at other children, even if you go to school out of SOS, and you see kids who will come from house where there's a mother and a father, and they're exposed to all these kind of, and the stories they say, and things that happens in their homes or in their life. How was it when you looked at yourself and you look at these other kids? How was that life like?
Well, I would say the slogan for SOS or their emblem is creating a loving home for every child.
Yes.
You see, so I received love from my mother. Yeah? So that was actually fine. But then the spending of time, it wasn't as much as, because we were 10 in a house, one woman, 10 children per house. How do you get to give each and every one of them attention? So if you get to school and you hear a child breaking about, my mom took me out for ice cream, oh, my dad played soccer with me, then you're like, yeah, I played soccer with my friends. You see, so I didn't have the privilege of playing with my elders, like you said. I didn't have the privilege of walking with them. I didn't have the privilege of receiving proper advice from a parent, but I received it from external parents given to me by God. Had it not been for them, I would be one that would maybe be suicidal. Because such things can lead to one being depressed and all that. But I thank God I didn't reach that level. Of depression.
People say that a child is raised by a village. Somehow in the story of Elwin, you can see that the collective, regardless of the parents, biological parents not being there, there was this sense of communiteness and love, as much as if it was between or in SOS village, but literally that proverb seems to be very true. And how many of us out there seems to be drifting away from this African proverb that Ubuntu was our cultural heritage, that we had to live as a village, we had to live as a community, and somehow we are decentralizing into selfishness. It's me, myself, and I. How are we going to help vulnerable children? How are we going to help children like Elwin, where it's coming from? So talk to me about transitioning now into a man as you leave SOS, grade 12, you finally passed and you're about to go into the university. Tell me about the experience.
Right. Many children, when they leave home and come to university, they lose their ways. Yes. But I didn't have a way to lose. Okay. Because in SOS, we are trained to be independent. They tell you that when you go out of this place, none of us will be there to tell you, Elwin, did you wash your dishes? Elwin, did you make up your bed? No. So, coming to university, I had to choose wisely about friends. Because the type of friends that you get will determine what your outcome of university life will be like. So I had the privilege and the wisdom from God to choose godly friends or friends that will focus on the academics.
Okay.
So with that, I had then set aside time and I focused or made my mind up in a manner that I would look up and fulfill the purpose as to why I'm here at university.
Yeah.
The good thing is they had been providing financially. I was sorted.
Yeah.
They provided some pocket money every month and food money. So that was actually a good part of it. And I had some other people that also took care of me, and I had the background of how to budget and how to save and how to buy and not to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually the privilege.
So you have been set up in a home designed by destiny, by purpose, God's fingerprint going through your life, and somehow knowing what's going to happen, He set you up into a certain place, and in that place you are taught certain elements or principles of life, self-discipline, self-control. These are some of the elements you're just saying now. So self-discipline, self-control, having a vision, being focused. Above all, the most important, which you said, was how to choose friends. There are a lot of young people out there listening to you today that have messed up in life. Coming from a broken past, their life is still broken, their future seems to be broken because maybe somehow they have not either heed to the people around them to be set up in an environment where they can receive correction, discipline, and be taught self-control, self-value, self-worth, and self-determination, self-persistence. But going back, these are elements that makes you a great man you are today. Somehow, do you think in any way that based on your past, it has to do something for you not to say, I can't go back to the life that I was. I can't go back picking food in the dustbin. Do you think that has played a role in terms of how you choose friends and how you are determined in terms of your education?
Big time.
Okay.
I do not want to see my children because I must say I'm living my life now. But what is for the future is for my children. So when I think about what I went through, I do not want any of my children or the generation after them to go back to the dump site and pick up anything.
Yeah.
I do not want to see any of them going out on the streets and saying, give me. So what I've decided is everything that I do, it's to build my life.
Yeah.
It's to build a mansion. They say a mansion is not built in a day.
Yeah.
So it's a thing of preparing yourself. I've made up my mind and told myself, Elwin, you cannot go back there. If the friends that you choose today, are they helping you to build your life for the future?
Yeah.
Or will they pull you back? Some children who come from a rich background, they're so reluctant and they do not know life. Thus they choose friends that will tell them, Tony, let's go clubbing. They'll tell them, let's go spend money. Let's go for what? But I choose on the friends that will tell me, Elwin, let's sit down and look at this situation that we find ourselves in. What is the solution to this?
Yeah.
The first interaction I have with people, I usually make jokes to see how they react to it. And based on that, I'll know whether this person is one that has a mindset of, I want to succeed. Or is he one that is like, whatever comes, let it come.
Yeah.
So as a young person, you must be able to make out, do you want friends that are determined for great stuff, or they are just wherever the wind blows?
Yeah.
Our teacher in my primary school was one that told us, you must not be like a man who was on a boat, he couldn't swim. So it's like, if I die, I die, if I live, I live. Now in life, you're on a boat, and when it's sinking, do you want to be able to swim out of that situation? Or do you want to be like, if I die, I die? Now, if you decide not to build on what you have in life as a young person, to build on what your parents are giving you, you will be the one who says, if I die, I die. And by the time you want to wake up and to jump out of that boat, you are dead. You cannot swim. So what am I trying to say? In life, if you have the opportunity, grab it and go on with it.
Yeah.
I look for opportunities, and if I see it, I take it.
Yeah.
If it's not from God, I say, Lord, let it pass me by.
Yeah.
You see, so that I can walk in accordance with God's will and to fulfill the purpose and the mission or the reason why He created me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to be one that will look back and say, I've lived my life, and now I can just sit back and relax.
Having gone through all these, the valleys and the hills of life, finally you find yourself at the highest institution, University of Namibia, and you are into computer science?
Yes.
Yes. You are studying that. And there are a lot of young folks out there, a lot of young people who might have been, or they are in a situation that you were in. What are the words of encouragement would you say to them?
Well, as much as God cares for the birds in the field, as much as He pours out water for the plants and the grass out there in the field, God cares about every person. No matter what your circumstance or your situation is, God cares about you. God loves you. And He knows why He's making you go through that. It's so that whatever the situation the person is going through,
Yes.
God will turn it out to the good of that person, and that person will be a testimony. And the person will say, look, I was nothing. The Bible says in Psalms 118, towards the last verse, it says that God has taken the poor from their poverty and placed them in riches. He has taken people from the mud and placed them on high places. Now, whatever situation a person goes through, it's not permanent. I call it a season of preparation for the great. So God is preparing you for the great. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elwin. It has been a pleasure and an honor to have you. As you can hear and see, that through all that you can go through in life, you have been hit from all angles. Emotional traumatized, psychological traumatized, all aspect of life. You might have looked at somehow, you might feel like your family has rejected you. Your friends have abandoned you, and everybody seems to be far from you. But sometimes God has to isolate you. Life has to isolate you in order to shape you in who you are. Sometimes the cacophony of that is around us may distract you from the inner voice and inner destiny. Therefore, sometimes you go through what you go through, and all will turn around and will shape you into your destiny, into your purpose. Don't give up. Don't give up. The power of purpose. You are born for a purpose. You are born for a destiny. The passage you're going, just look forward. Look around you. Get inspired by those who have gone through you. Stories like these ones, they can be able to shape your life. Don't give up yet. Until then, this is the power of purpose. It's me, Anton MN. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep well.